Welcome. Hey Ryan, you gonna do the intro?
Oh,
Are you out of practice? Yeah,
there's
we're
nothing on my
live.
screen.
There's nothing. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second.
Uh-oh.
My
So I'm
bad.
just sitting here waiting. I'm like, I don't see anything.
All right, there we go. There we go. Can you see now?
It's, now I see. Okay. Now I see. Okay. Are we live right now?
We are live.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
we're out of
folks.
practice.
Blame it on Rom. It has been a month of Sundays since we've met, but it's all good to, of course, be with my co-host Rom. It has been so long. Of course, me and him talk every day about what the hell is going on in the world because that's how we stay sane. But folks, it is so good to be back on the airwaves talking to our best fans in the world. And as a quick reminder, this show is supported through fans and listeners. So please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you tell at least 19,000 people about this show so we can grow because we are talking about things that impact all of us and things have been heating up. And we want to make sure that you are in the know with no spin, no, consultant fluff around it, but actually just the real deal thing. Again, this is the Radical Roots podcast where we dig deep to reach high. And of course, it's always progress through action. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter. Now that you can see me and I'm now not looking crazy.
And I am your co-host, Ram Sandoval. Welcome. It's been I think we've been about 2 weeks, seems like a lifetime. Been doing
In this world.
yeah, one of us or both of us were been traveling in different places, been in Chicago and I think you had a couple trips to Jamaica, South Carolina. Folks
Yeah, it was
were
nice. Nice stuff. Nice stuff. Yeah, yeah. Jamaica, it was nice down there, man. They're real Irie, man. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, folks, but it was real nice there, man. You got to relax and have and I felt real Rastafari, I got the locks now, so I was down there. I said now, as it ain't been 5 years. I got the locks. So I felt like I was a part of the community. Now, granted, them brothers was a lot more melanocious than I was. I'm a little more melanemic in comparison to them. But I got to know a lot of the culture down there. Had some good conversation with some good brothers and sisters down there. Learned a lot about Jamaican culture and a lot more what we have in common. And I got to try the ganja. I never tried Jamaican ganja. They took me to like this spot, and they was like, "Oh yeah, it's cool." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, is it?" And I look, and I'm all trying to like be on the low. I'm like, "Can we do that here?" They're like, "Oh, it's different here. It's cool. It's cool." And I was like, "Okay." They went to a little hole in the wall, and they had like this Rastafarian lady who like was super respected. You could tell she was like the anchor lady of the block. And I walked in there, and she's like, "What you need, honey?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. What you got?" Indica, whatever, blah blah blah, and yeah, and it was cool, man. And I'll tell you what, that was a different kind of high. Um, it was really cool. Yeah, I was like, I was able to come down. So
okay.
I think, folks, this isn't like a pro drug. Look, it's legal there, and it was 2 weeks ago. So again, if you go to Jamaica, it is cool beans, but it was awesome. It was an awesome trip.
Nice. Sounds pretty fun. What about the food? Was the food good?
Oh yeah, food was great. We got some of that curry goat, peas and rice, and what else we do? Jerk chicken, of course.
Plantains,
Plantains.
beans,
Come on
rice.
now.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So
They
yeah,
do
we
they
we had
are beef like beef pies? Is that a thing in
beef
Jamaica?
patties. Yeah,
Beef
beef.
patties.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right. Beef patties. Had some of those too. So yeah, we had all the local delicacies, and it was just a good time to get away. It was only about 4 or 5 days, but you know, I think I
Yeah.
was like fried in my mind by the time I got back. I was like, "What's the United States?" But it was cool, man. It was cool. What about you, man? You were all over the place too.
Yeah, I was in Chicago for business pleasure. I did my first golf tournament, and
Mm.
was
Did you win?
decent. No, we didn't win, but it was fun. It was relaxed.
There you go.
They had music on the court. It was it was pretty like live.
You said music on the court?
Yeah, they had music on the course.
Oh, of course.
They
Oh,
had a little
sorry.
thing where you could like shoot the golf ball in one hole, and it was
What?
it was a pretty cool tournament, and they
No,
had
I
like
haven't heard of that.
golf girls and all kinds of stuff. But it was for kids. It was for kids with disabilities, specifically Down syndrome. So it was a fundraiser for
Mm,
that. So it was a good event, good family event. Had a good time. So
very nice.
back here, headed
Now we're back in the stew. We're
yeah.
back in the stew. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's get into it, man. What is our first topic up? Because I mean, folks, I don't know if it's a slow news week. There's nothing to talk about. That's the good thing with our show. If we don't do a show, there's nothing to talk about. So, what's the,
It's been on my mind for, I think sent a message to you 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, yo, is this the Civil War right now? Because I know in our minds we expect the Civil War to be violent and, the shot that started it all, or, physical violence and death. But I posed that question to you and RC, and I said, well, is this a Civil War? And since I've asked that, several things have happened. We've had the military National Guard get deployed to DC. We've had the Pentagon say they're deploying a quick reaction force with National Guards. I think which would be based out of two cities, ready to go anywhere in the United States in 1 hour. Redistricting. So that was a big
Another big
thing.
one,
I think that was one of the
huge right
reasons why
now.
I asked the question, was
Hmm.
because, and,
Hmm.
and you being the historian and the scholar, I'm kind of curious in terms of, what you think sparked the Civil War, the original United States Civil War. And I think it was some of those things leading up to, the first battle, if you will, was secession, and seceding from the Union. And that is, when you see what's happening in Texas, and they're just redrawing the districts because Trump told them to. They need to maintain seats, gain some extra seats, and one of the ways they're fighting back, Democrats are potentially fighting back, is doing the same thing in California. Either
Right.
way around, it's a slippery slope. And then there was a shooting at the CDC campus, the Emory campus. Gunman fired over 180 rounds into the CDC building of Atlanta. He killed a cop. Um, Barely heard about it. Barely blip on the radar. And then today, a few hours ago, the governor of California, Governor Newsom, had Border Patrol show up to his press conference. A video I saw was about 20 Border Patrol agents just hanging out. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
starting to heat
so
up.
I mean, so ultimately things are going well in America. Things are going well. We can say that. And I think also too, as you know, I'm always trying to tie in culturally, because we can talk about what's happening through the headlines of like, or through what's going on in the headlines, but we also have to understand culturally what's going on. And like, I think all those Trump voters during the last election, they were telling us, oh no, he doesn't want authoritarianism, and he doesn't know anything about Project 2025, and he's not going to do any of that stuff, and that's actually Joe Biden's going to have the military in all of your city. Like now, those same people aren't, I wonder what they think, I wonder how they're feeling. We've seen plenty of these, folks of Latino descent, saying, I regret my vote and I shouldn't have voted for Trump. But like I'm talking about those white people, those white folks that voted for Trump and were super cocky and like, I'm voting for Trump. This is prior to the election. But then, of course, even the interim between the election and his inauguration, they were
Mhm.
telling us what will not happen and how we're hyperventilating. But as we know on this show, Ron, we are always the Paul Revere and the canaries in the coal mine. And again, we're just always right.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I hate to say it, but like it's the worst kind of like I told you so. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's funny because, or I don't know if it's funny, but a little bit ironic, but to the point. Uh, the company I worked for the last 7 years, it's sold, and
Mm,
the owner wrote a letter to me, and she referred to me as a scout, and she said, you see things. This
yeah.
is from a business perspective, but she
Hmm.
says you see things before
It
that no
works.
one
It works
that no
though.
one else sees before, um, before they um happen. And one of those things that stood out was COVID, right? It was warning, hey, like, let's prepare our clients before COVID hits, and those things. But yeah, I mean, to the point, like, you know, it's not hyperbole, and I don't think that this conversation that we're having right now, the title of this episode, I don't think it's hyperbole. I think it's the path that we're going down. I don't think it's necessarily like going to look like people suiting up in blue uniforms and red uniforms, and we got muskets and things like that. But I do think that it's hard to foresee getting out of where we're at without, um, violence. I mean, there's already people dying as a due to this administration. There's already bloodshed. It's, things that we don't necessarily directly see. I mean, a cop was shot. I mean, we go back to January 6th, right? 2021. I
Hello.
mean, we lost what, four or five cops. I mean,
Five,
I mean,
and then
even
175 police officers were injured.
Ashley Babbitt died. Like, so both sides. And that, I mean, how many times have you seen cops get beat down, especially like
Never,
on live
like
TV?
never, and then like
Um,
never, like then like nothing happens. Like they get beat down and stabbed and hit with flagpoles, and it's like, all right, well the cops are wrong too. It's like what I mean. I've seen black folks just wriggle, like just wriggle their shoulders while they're being detained by a police officer, and I hear "stop resisting," bang. So you're right. I've never seen this level of just weak need, politics, surface. I mean, maybe we have, and I think a lot of people are waking up to what honestly this country always was. I think we're seeing, power beget power. Um, and yeah, I think we're at a point where people have to look themselves in the mirror and say, this is what a lot of people have been warning me about. This is what a lot of people who have told their stories, their personal, stories of coming over here as immigrants or having the black experience, of having the queer experience, or having the woman experience, and what it's like fighting with the state and how the state is a boot on my neck and how hard. And now a lot of people, they see what it is, and they're still not ready to make that next step to be like, you know what, I need time for direct action with the state.
yeah, I think a lot of people wake up every day and they're like, "Oh my gosh," and they have a heart attack every day and they can't take it. And
It's a lot of heart attacks.
I think because like they're in denial, they've been in denial,
Right.
and
Right.
they're holding on to this hope that it's just going to continue to disappoint. And I think being realistic about where things are at, and a lot of people think, "Oh well, the police will come protect us. LAPD is going to stop the National Guard or whatever," which isn't the case. I mean, they're part of the same system. I mean, the LAPD, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, are some of the most corrupt, most violent history, and even known to have a large white supremacist membership or employees, right? So, I saw one thing that said, I've seen police beating women, I've seen police beating black men, I've seen police beating students, I've seen police beating the elderly. I've never seen the police beat white supremacists. Um,
Mm.
and I haven't. And I
Mm.
said, well, matter of fact, I've seen white supremacists beating police.
Mm.
So, they're actually willing to allow more. I mean, I think if you had Black Lives Matter outside the Capitol on January 6th, a Black Lives Matter crowd, um, oh, they would have started shooting. I mean, without a doubt, there would have been shots fired. There would have been no hesitation. They would not have been taking a beating like they would. So, even the cops themselves were told to have more restraint while they're getting beat down because of the fear of the repercussion that they know that there could be as a result. I mean, even the FBI who investigated January 6th are now uh, under scrutiny or being fired just because they were doing their job. So the idea that the police are going to step in and protect the community, um, when have they ever? And I just don't really see that. That's not happening. I don't even. I'm just telling you that's not happening. And
Right.
now we have the military, and we're asking. I think that before we went live, you were asking, well, when do we stop blindly supporting the military? Look, the military, the National Guard, these DEAs and the FBI, all these organizations that are marching
The
around
Alphabet Boys.
DC, like, um, to be honest, like I'll be honest, like I think a lot of them feel like it's beneath them. They're basically been put on foot patrol, right? I mean, they're doing it. They're
I mean,
following
they're not
orders.
trained. They're not trained to patrol
They're,
the streets.
they're
First of all,
yeah, but a
I
lot of
mean, if
them,
they and then these folks like what they're not doing is what they're supposed to be investigating, right? I remember, what was this? Maybe 2020. I was talking to a guy who did Secret Service back home in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. Folks don't know I'm from Pennsylvania, and it's maybe 2020. It's 2022 maybe. And he was and I was like, when you're in Joe, because Joe Biden was coming into Pittsburgh, and he had to be pulled off of what he was doing to, of course, protect the president, because these are regional. People think that the Secret Service like follows the president wherever they go. No, there's thousands of Secret Service agents across the country who do. They have a lot of stuff that they do. And I said, hey, so when Joe Biden came in town, like, what do you, like, what were you working on something else? He's like, yeah, like my job, I chase down like internet crime.
Yeah,
So as we think about like Trump trying to pull all these people, they're actually stopping them from catching fraud, catching waste, and catching abusers. So ironic just to do this performance on the streets of wherever has a black mayor and a high black density. That is where he wants to deploy our folks who are not trained to do this. And but I think also too, I mean, just to kind of put a end on that point about January 6th and for black people. I think what we're seeing is whenever privilege faces itself, and I'm going to give this example and then expand out into January 6th. We've all seen videos of like women being like, if anybody's on Instagram, if you've been on Instagram for over 2 3 years, at a certain point in time, you've seen a woman being accosted by some man, and then some woman jumps in the way, and it's like, oh girl, stop this, or blah blah blah. And men don't get involved. Men do not, because men are afraid of other men, right? So these same alpha guys who are alpha bros and I'm here to protect women and protect my daughter. We've seen countless videos of women being harassed, harmed, abused, beaten, and rarely do men get involved. I've seen one a couple weeks ago where like there's some Mexican restaurant and some ladies getting harassed by some dude, and like the brothers are just sitting there watching, and then like some other woman gets in the way and like throws water on the guy, right? That is the constant refrain, because men know we know the capacity of our own violence, and we know how, and honestly, again, most of these guys are cowards. I don't care how many muscles they got, I don't care how many guns they got. They're just as afraid of men as as they project onto women, and while they say they need us as protectors, even though in reality there's a very low chance of you getting involved with a woman you don't know. But it's the same thing with the privilege of whiteness. White people are afraid of white people. This is why the quote unquote good ones want to sit with us and say, like, well, I'm now sitting with you and I'm your ally. It's like, I need you in front of that other white person. That's where we need you, in front of, the crazy Bill with the noose. So I need you to use your whiteness, right? Don't forget about whiteness all of a sudden now that Trump's in office. I need you to use that privilege to go challenge those people. That's what we need you to do. Well, I don't want to hear about, well, they're so far gone, and I don't invite them to Christmas. It is now time for direct action with the people who put these people into power. Because I always try to remind people, Trump, JD Vance, Ron DeSantis, or you name your favorite Republican, Marjorie Taylor Greene, these people didn't just stumble into office. They were voted for. And we let the voters off the hook because they are in our neighborhood, and especially white people are really afraid of direct conflict because
yeah,
they don't exist in it the way we do daily.
yeah. I think the scary part is, and very likely the reality is, especially like with white Democrats or white leftists or whatever, is the fact that at any given moment they could just step back and blend in. Like kind of like the Homer Simpson, like the meme where he steps out and then he kind of blends back in, because
Right, right,
it,
right,
it,
right.
it is optional, right? To
Hmm.
to speak up, to get in the way, to fight,
That's right.
because and it's could be whether it's convenience, whether it's life or death. It's just more convenient and safe for a lot of folks to just not say anything, not call, like to your point, not cause conflict. Um, whether it's in a public place, whether it's within their family, whether it's in the between getting in between ICE and citizens or other immigrants in the community, whatever it may be. And it's only going to get worse, and if people aren't really doing, like for me, I'm not saying that the response needs to be violence, but I do think that there needs to be a bigger response. And like I was saying before we went on, is like shutting down, the country in terms of labor, right? Stop spending. I mean, something drastic that doesn't
Hmm.
require, and now would be the time. But it's going to be a collective effort. But I don't really. I don't really have a lot of confidence in. And there's a lot of groups. It's not just really. It's not just like white folks. Is it where they just go? They start each group. They start with immigrant classes, brown immigrants, and then they're targeting black communities, and just kind of then now they're challenging LGBTQ, and so
But it's all the things. It's all the things that
it's.
that build up a white hierarchy, right? It's the queers, it's the blacks, it's the immigrants, it's the women. Anything that could, I mean, if you, what are the opposites of all those things? Black immigrant, queer, let's say disabled, let's say Muslim. The opposite of all those things would be black. Opposite of black is white. Opposite of woman is man. Opposite of Muslim in the, if there's a binary, it would be Christian. Opposite of disabled would be able. So I always say if we can get rid of one, if we can get rid of one ism to fix the world, it would be ableism. I know most people they probably expect me to say racism, but if you get rid of if you get rid of ableism, because we go back in history, the only people that were considered to be fully formed people were able-bodied white men,
Mm,
right? So if you're not an able-bodied a white man, you are not to be considered by these governmental institutions, the infrastructure of the company, or the fabric of society. So therefore, if we got rid of ableism within itself, we could change the course of history because we forget being black within itself was deemed a disability.
hmm
They said your black skin make, I mean, it's like the handicap. You just talking about playing golf. I mean, I don't know much about golf, but I mean the handicap, I don't know which way that works actually, if it's up or down. But like your skin was a handicap. Am I using that right? Am I using the phrase
Look,
right here?
look. I don't track
Handicap?
my. Yeah, sort of. It's
Okay.
not
well,
really.
help out the analogy here. You get what I'm trying to say.
But to your point, I mean, like we went and go, but we said, oh, they're not going to overturn Roe v. Wade, or they're not going to come after gay marriage, and they're not going to come after.
Affirmative
They're
action,
not going to come after the good immigrants,
the
the
Chevron doctrine,
workers,
right?
the good working immigrants. They're only going after the criminalized immigrants. They're not going after. They're not going to come into black communities, like and they're going after them. And how many times are people going to say that and say like, oh well, he doesn't know what Heritage Foundation is. He doesn't know what Project 2025 like. So at some point, you know, I don't know when people wake up. I mean, oh, he's not a, he's not a he hangs out with Epstein, but he has no knowledge of the pedophile. Like, I don't know what's wrong with people. Americans need to wake the fuck up.
I guess the question now that we're all kind of faced with is like, what do we do with these people now? Because ironically, we have these people on both sides. We have the Republicans who will downplay and obfuscate and distract from everything he's doing. Well, I didn't read that email. I didn't see that tweet. I don't know anything. I haven't read that note. I don't know if Trump said that. I haven't read that law. I haven't read, right? So we got that from the right to excuse all of Trump's wrongdoing. Then on the left, we have a bunch of people who are so um, deluded that they're just like, we just got to just be happy and we can't have any friction and we got to be one team and we got to
Work across the
stand behind
aisle.
people. Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. And like, I can work with them here, and I don't know, and there's the feeling of danger in DC. Isn't that enough? And I think as we're gonna get into the DC stuff, there's a clip from Morning Joe's on Simone Sanders Instagram. I don't know if you could pull that up. But it is, and I haven't watched Joe Scarborough since November 6th because I've always known that he was a racist blowhard who has been mainstreaming right-wing racist talking points for 20 hours a week on the liberal station. Just wanted to say, I said every time Joe Scarborough, Morning Joe, is on that station for 20 hours a week. The former Republican who is politically homeless takes up the most real estate on MSNBC. It's insane. But Joy Reid had 5 hours. It's ridiculous. So earlier this week, he had on Simone Sanders, and he asked her about, crime. And of course, a lot of Democrats and I think left leaning people and people just subconscious have been pushing back on this notion of what's happening. And I guess we should probably give context what happened in D.C. So to pull it back, as Rom's looking for this clip. Big Balls, folks. It's a name that you all come to love. I call him grape nuts sometimes, little nuts. He was in DC and he allegedly got his shit rocked by by two, of course, black youths, according to them, two black youths. And they said, as they were done whooping his ass, according to him, they said, "This is Kamala country," which is like nobody would ever say this. Like black people ain't saying this, and they wouldn't know who Big Balls was. To be like, hold on, are you the Doge kid? Because do you know like, could you pick out Big Balls of a lineup?
No,
Huh?
no.
So you tell me some 14, because they were 14 and 15-year-old according to Big Balls. And first of all, you're getting your ass whipped by about 14-year-old and 15-year-old, and they carjacked you. It, it, it is to me, it ain't
I
mathing, right?
actually, I actually had. I mean, I heard about this, but I didn't know that like they knew, like they said it's Kamala country. Like
It's Kamala
they said
country.
that they knew
Like
that they knew who he was.
eh, that part wasn't really alluded to. It wasn't that. I mean, because think about it.
Well,
So you sitting there,
if you saying it's Kamala country, like I feel like you got to know
you
that
would have to know who he
this
was,
he's
right?
somebody that like
Right, like bro, you're not important. Like you're 19 years old. So I mean, because imagine, like set the stage, folks. You're walking to your car. It's 3 in the morning in DC. Now I was just up in DC. Me and my family went. No one got murdered. No one got mugged. In fact, we had a great time. We were walking at nighttime with my baby, who's 3 years old. She had a great time walking in the late night. We walked back to the house. It was like 10 o'clock. Fun stuff, fun times. There was no gunshots in the air. So it's 3 o'clock. We've all been out late night. Now you 3 o'clock, got your keys jangling, and you hear something behind you. You turn around. Now I'm assuming when he turned around, they just fell to the floor with basking in his fame. Like, oh my God, is this big balls? Oh my God, this is large testicles. Oh my God, large testicles. I
like they
can't
got
believe it.
like they got a deck of cards of like the enemy.
Yeah,
You
like
know
right.
what
They're
I'm
like,
saying?
oh,
Like
this this
direct.
is this is him. This is him.
I
And
so
then and so then they carjack him. And I guess at the end of it, and if there's a picture of him with his shirt torn and blood dripping, and is kind of sitting there slumped over, to me it seems staged.
yeah, it
And,
sounds suspicious for
and then
sure.
I guess near the end, and maybe as they're running away with the keys, jingling, ling, they're like, "This is Kamala country," because that's what because the criminals who can't vote.
That sounds like it sounds like a Jesse Smollett. Who when I heard that
Ha-
story, I'm from Chicago. I heard that story. I'm
right,
like this nigga lying because like what like I
right.
live here. I was like it don't sound right.
There's a
That sounds
documentary on
like
that.
one
I
of
just
those.
saw the trailer for that
Yeah.
earlier today. I just saw the documentary, the trailer for that documentary.
I hate big balls. I think he's in some ways probably a terrorist. But like I
Oh yeah,
with
no
that being
question.
said, I have no idea what he looks like. I've seen a picture I think of him bloody, and I still couldn't tell you what he looks like. If you told me to pick him
No,
out of lineup, I'd start sweating. You put a gun in my head, I'd probably it'd be like Russian roulette, right? So
but this,
anyways,
but this is what fascists do. So Naomi Klein has a book. No, I'm going to reference a book. Naomi Klein has a book called The Shock Doctrine, and it is a history of how fascists and authoritarians have used um, uh, any sort of crises to erode civil rights and protection from people, and to instill their militaristic, coup d'état over whatever country. Right here, we've had COVID. Right, Trump used COVID, and of course, he put troops in the streets in these certain areas when George Floyd was killed, and that was the quote unquote summer of racial reckoning. Now he's using this quote unquote one insular singular crime to then say it's a crime wave. So this has got the discourse happening now. And again, we are listening to people talk about crime waves from a man who is a one man walking crime wave. And me and Ron were talking about this prior to the episode beginning. We recently just had two Democratic state house members murdered by a guy named Vance Bolter, who was radicalized and killed them execution style and lined their daughter up, but she managed to get away. But they're going to tell you about rampant crime. The same guy that said they can come in here, they're not here to hurt me because it's about him on January 6th. Let them through the magnetometers, he said.
mm-hmm.
Right? Again, and mind you, I always go back to what color we got on the screen. If folks who are listening in, the picture of Vance Bolter who killed those two Democratic lawmakers. But why did he choose a white mask? It may seem like a small thing. It may seem like a small thing because there is this level of benefit of a doubt that white skin gets you in a white supremacist country. Even if you're a liberal, even if you're a progressive, when you see a white cop, you're going to be more at ease. Now, if that man came to my door, first of all, I'm like, that ain't no real face. Second of all, white cop, what you want? You got a warrant? So that this is where we talk about how white supremacy even hurts white people and people who still uphold it and believe in these systems and institutions like the police that were built off of slave catching. Right now, we're seeing the roosters coming home to roost. Now, moving forward to this Joe Scarborough clip. I don't know if did you find it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's listen to this, and we'll catch up on the other side of it.
You don't think more police make streets safer?
No, Joe, I'm a black woman in America. I do not always think that more police make streets safer. When you walk down the streets of Georgetown, you don't see a police officer on every corner, but you don't feel unsafe. So what is it about talking about places like Southeast DC, right? Ward 8, if you will, that people say, well, we need more officers to make us safe. I think we have to rethink what safety means in America.
Well, you know, there have been black city council members in New York City, when people were talking about defunding the police, saying the people we represent are the people who need police officers the most, as safety officers in schools need police officers the most, so our children can walk from their homes to school without being stopped, 5-10 times by drug dealers or people that are going to assault them. I don't think this is an issue of black versus white. When you're talking about safety, there are a lot of black Americans who don't feel safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods. And when they hear people talking about defunding the police, it freaks them out. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
Defund the police is not good. I never supported defund. I think you're making a good point, Joe. I want to be able to call the police in my neighborhood. When they come, I don't want them to think that I'm a suspect. But what we are talking about is that the president of the United States is saying that there is a crime emergency in Washington, D.C. An emergency could be anything that he says it is. So from his definition, maybe there is. The data would say otherwise. But the issue that people keep citing is about the young people, the carjackings, right? The kids running into a CVS and taking things out the CVS. That is juvenile crime. And so how are the police officers or the National Guard going to address the issue of juvenile crime? And until we start talking about the policy, let's talk about the crime bill that DC passed last year that could be strengthened, right? Let's talk about that. But Donald Trump is using rhetoric and playing on the real fears that some people have because of what they've seen on the news or maybe what they themselves have experienced. And
it's not what they've seen on the news. It's not what they've. You don't think more police?
So I'm so glad that I don't have to give another a second of my life to watch Morning Joe on actual television. So, but I did see this clip, and I do appreciate Simone Sanders Townsend's pushback on this whole framing, because and I don't know about you, Ram. I mean, this whole idea of feelings, right? Like, this is how many times it was happened during the election. It happened, in 2018, it happened in 2020, 2022, where people are feeling like the economy is bad. And so, well, the numbers aren't that the economy is bad. Well, they're not feeling it. And you know who was saying that? Joe Scarborough was saying that. During the 2024 election as well. The economy's bad under Biden. People aren't feeling it. We're like, well, I don't know. It's just pretty good. Very low unemployment rates. Of course, we could always get, wages higher. But at the end of the day, the stock market was doing well. The economy was doing well. Like, what do you mean? But people aren't feeling it. Now that it's moving into physical violence and crime, right? Where it's like, well, the crime numbers are down. It's actually at a 30-year low in DC, but people just aren't feeling it. And one thing that it was reminiscent to me, and we don't have to go back that far. I think I was maybe 2 years old, which would mean you would be 2 years old as well, because you're the same age as me now. Because I turned 39 a couple days ago.
Happy birthday, by the way.
I mean, it's all good. I mean, see how my co-host do, y'all. See how you do. But no, I'm joking. But when we were 2 years old, what happened? The Central Park Five. And it was just this idea of feelings versus what is actually going on. And what happened to those 5 young men? They were incarcerated. And it's just giving this, it smacks of the same dog whistle of the feeling of these vagrants. And then him telling her, because I don't know if you guys know, Joe Scarborough lives in Florida. And these people, they're on Fox News, the Newsmaxes, and the Joe Scarboroughs of the world, and these never Trumpers who are saying that the police are the best. These are people who do not go to areas that they don't know black people. They don't go to or inner cities. They don't even know what it's like. They've never been killed by a black person, never even been robbed by a black person because they don't know black people. But it's the same rhetoric of this kind of birth of a nation that said that these black folks were, eating watermelon, putting their feet, eating chicken up in Congress. And, uh, uh, um, the president at the time loved that shit because he wrote the book about it. So now we're listening to Trump saying the same shit over and over again, that black people, and Joe Scarborough right now is kind of reinforcing that black people are too violent to do any better, and we're too stupid to know any better. And this is why we need to have the state come in and harass us. So it smacks with that Central Park 5.
Yeah. And, they're pussies anyways.
Right. I think Democrats need to start saying that. Like, y'all are pussies. Like, you want to go to New York City, Chicago? What, you a pussy?
You won't leave your office in DC. First off, you're bullshitting. Second off, you probably are. You probably are. Like, you're like when I first moved here to North Carolina, and people say you're from Chicago. Chicago's like, it's bad. I'm like, look,
how many times have you been shot?
I am a gun owner with a CCL carry to, like, I can carry, and I didn't even carry in Chicago because I wasn't scared. Like, if I was going somewhere where I felt like I needed to carry a gun, then I probably shouldn't be going there, right? And I've been around all parts of the city, right? And like, right, yeah, there's parts of I'm not.
And you're not dead yet. Like, you're not dead.
Yeah, but like, and so somebody said it was. You know what happened the minute, and I'm talking about like 5 minutes after I closed on my house, I heard sirens galore, and to go outside, sirens like 30 minutes, and I go outside and drive down the street, and streets are blocked off, SWAT teams, I mean police everywhere. And it was when they had that shootout, and somebody killed like 5 cops. And it was like, so like, you're talking about Chicago. I literally come here, and same thing, like San Francisco. I was in San Francisco, and I know
that was here.
Yeah, that was here in Charlotte. That happened the minute I signed the paper.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
like, this is nuts, right? And so I went to San Francisco, and like, again, these are big cities, but like, people want to talk about like Chicago. Chicago's this like, I literally heard gunshots, and somebody was killed in like the middle of the street. People were shot, like I literally saw somebody die in the middle of the street. As soon as I landed in San Francisco, I'm like, let me get a burger. And then I tell the guy at the burger stand, he's like, well, Chicago. I mean, well, Chicago what? I mean, look, it's everywhere. You keep talking about, well, Chicago. And then they painted this picture of like, now this DC is like the worst area in the world. And, and so look.
And the data shows us that the highest amounts of crime is where? In red states. In red cities, right? I think we found out that Alaska has, one of the highest amounts of violent crime, and they have about the same amount of people there in Alaska as DC, and their crime rate is off the rip. Why don't you send the National Guard up there? Because Lisa Murkowski represents Alaska,
right? And so, and look, I hate. First off, I hate gun violence. I hate to see any kind of violence, and I hate to see, lack of economic opportunity in the cities. And so, when people talk about, whether it's violence, gun violence, murder in Chicago, yeah, I'm with it. Let's find solutions. But the nature of the way I approach things, the nature of the way, in business and in life is like the root cause. And like, here we are, Radical Roots is like, well, what conditions cause for somebody to not value their life into where they will go out, join a gang, participate in gun violence, go out and sell drugs? Like, what are the conditions that are created in these environments, right? How do we actually get to the root cause of, trying to figure out like what's going on with children and their trauma, like traumatized, like the actual what's happening in their environments? And it's not a quick fix, and people want to vote in a mayor and think that they're going to come in and what's happening here in DC is this show of force. But then what? Like, these people don't know how to patrol. Are they actually solving crimes? Are they doing detective work? I mean, what are they doing other than, stopping somebody from drinking in the street, smoking a blunt?
Well, someone was smoking. A guy was smoking, right?
So here we are.
A luscious menthol cigarette.
We're over policing. We're showing our force. We're here. We're banging our chest. But like, what does it actually solve? And so, are these people going to be here?
What does it do
for the next? And so, when you see, I think it's Baltimore. I think it's DC, even Chicago, who have black mayors, and they're putting in
Los
a lot of
Angeles, Oakland. They threw Oakland in there.
yeah, there's a lot of anti-violence programs that are, because they understand that what's the root cause, and
That's right.
regardless of expediency, they're actually trying to take the time. And what are we seeing? We're seeing the actual reduction of violence. And granted, yeah, there's still shootings, there's still violence. Like, it's not going to go away.
Violence.
Remember,
right.
Trump was supposed to solve it on day one. He was supposed to solve Chicago violence on day one, right?
That's
so now that there's actually somebody like doing these things, they're not serious about it, right? Because because they want to demonize black mayors. They want to demonize. They want to go in and say they're only going into cities with black mayors, right? And they're not. These people aren't serious. That's why I always talk about, like, yeah, let's, okay, if you want to talk about gun violence, let's talk about it, and I'll talk about it in the inner city. But let's also talk about it in the rural. Let's talk about school shootings. And none of these people are serious, and it's all political footballs, political talking points, and quite frankly, I don't. There's not much more that pisses me off more than this subject, and so they're not.
No, I think I'm sending you another video right now. I think though with that there is I think Simone kind of hit it on the head, right? Of like what what needs to be looked at, and you both are saying it right now. She said it's what are the policies? What are the policies that are at the root cause of these young youth crime? That's what that was her parlance. Is this youth crime? Is the police or the military or the National Guard, are they ready to handle why someone is upset because their mama ain't home, or they're hungry, or they ain't got money, and in a society where you need money to do everything, and they see their friends that have the new Jordans and all that, like that stuff matters when you have nothing. And I think a lot of people, they look at us and they say, well, these folks, they care about Jordans and gold chains more than they care about anything else. When in reality, it's these are conditions of manufactured scarcity. So Simone hit it on the head. But I just sent you a video that I think we were going over earlier this week of the new top law enforcement in DC, Judge Box of Wine, excuse me, Judge Janine Pirro, is the new. I think she's the AG for DC, and this is playing out just as a judge who is a box of wine lady would be as the AG. And she was asked by a reporter, your question, Rom, the root causes of crime. And I don't know if you have the clip up.
I do have this clip. I'll play the clip. But you have to realize that these unqualified folks, they have to pretend they know what they're talking about, right? And so they're gonna gravitate towards whatever they know, whatever these right wing base, whatever they eat up. So like really in reality, like they really have no fucking clue one way or another.
It's just the old talking points, though. It's just the old like
these are Fox News hosts or.
Right. So they're saying Fox News shit. They're saying like it's the thugs and it's the inner city. It's just the talking points. But let's check this out.
Prosecutors. You just walked through the changes you'd like to see from the punitive aspects. What about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in DC, such as truancy?
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal. Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes. My concern is the victims of the crimes. That's my job as a U.S. attorney. Go ahead.
But just follow up on that quickly.
Is a felony one. And my prosecutors.
You just walked through the
change. All right, so now they have to take that microphone cover and wring it out so no one else gets drunk by osmosis, because she's clearly on the sauce again.
I think Pete Hex has said something similar. It's like my job at talking about the military,
the homeless, yeah, and that's not my lane.
Whose lane is it? Because these mayors, it's their lane, and they have an understanding of like what's actually happening. Y'all don't really understand anything. So what, like, who's actually trying?
They don't have to. They don't have to, man. Like, because for them, it's just like and I think we're seeing it's like a child. It's like I'm driving the car. It's kind of like that. Like I'm the big brother. I don't know if you watched Succession. Have you seen Succession?
Yeah.
When Kendall was like, "I'm the eldest boy," it's like it's that type of shit. It's like, don't ask me no fucking questions. Like, I'm in power, I'm in
Right.
charge. But power allied with ignorance is the greatest threat
Well,
to
and
democracy, as
it's
James Baldwin once said. Power allied with ignorance is the biggest threat to humanity.
yeah.
So like that is exactly what we're dealing with. These people who have power, and I think what we realize as a lot of us are waking up, a lot of people are reading about history, a lot of people are reading about what's happening internationally, the history of all that. And I think what we're realizing is these people who are holding on to this myth of whiteness, they were never smart. They were always just in power.
And it's insecurity coming through, right? Because
That's right. That's right.
if if you go into, and especially, it's not even like the imposter syndrome, because like imposter syndrome is you actually have an idea of
Right.
what you're doing.
Your
You just
skills, your
think
talent. Right.
they
Like, yeah, I'm
just
not
like
good
they have
enough.
they just have nothing to lean on but like to your they have their power that they've been
Ill-gotten, right?
gifted
Ill-gotten.
through nepotism,
Birth.
who you know,
Mhm. The
you
color
know,
of your skin,
skin color,
believing,
your
but
skin
believing in
color
an ideology,
affiliation, the willingness to get on your knees for Donald Trump,
tribalism
to sacrifice your entire like these
behind,
people who are unprincipled, right? So like
right?
so how and these people are obviously on the extreme, but these people who support these people, like, how do you work with them? How do you work? You can't work across the aisle with them. These are people who are bigots. These are people who like it's
Are
just
violent, are people who
I
will choose to ignore violence and then mainstream it. I mean, Stacey Abrams, that we played at the beginning of that episode, maybe 5 episodes ago, the 10 signs, and one of them was the normalization and the celebration of personal violence.
you know
And that's exactly what they're doing, right? Or trying to distract away from Vance Bolter, where they say, "Oh, he's a leftist." It's the same thing.
yeah, it's like, well, I don't know. He's left. He's white. Like I'm just
So,
like I
so
don't even. Anyway, like
right.
so like
They got
it's
they have the
y'all
complexion for
over
the
here talking about
protection.
like left and right, like honestly, and so
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I'm gonna read this to you. I just remember I have it in my inbox. So I was going back and forth with this MAGA guy like maybe a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, here goes the left being violent again," and this is what I responded to him with. I'm gonna read my response to this guy who's saying how violent we are because I forget. It was something along the lines of like, because I've been saying like I'm tired of Donald Trump waking up every morning, and he was like, "Oh, here goes the left. The left is violent again." I said, so this is my response. I said, "LOL. Yup. We stormed the Capitol dressed up as a fake white police officer." Again, I always make sure that I make mention of that. He dressed up as a white police officer to murder political opponents execution style. We beat up the Speaker of the House's husband in the head with a hammer. We took to the streets chanting, "Jews will not replace us." We bomb abortion clinics. We poison the air, water, and plants, which accelerate the deaths of millions. We have countless manifestos proclaiming our hate after we shoot up Walmarts, synagogues, grocery stores, and schools. We shoot at then candidate Trump in Butler, PA, and murder firefighters. We hang Barack Obama in effigy and then light it on fire. We fight for violent enslavers to be respected, and so on and so on and so on. Yes, the left is the super violent ones. Mind you, he did not respond to that.
yeah, I mean, I would, as you're talking, I honestly can't think of an instance when the left or black folks beat up cops in mass or at all. Like, I mean, like, like, can
They
you
pull
like
up.
where they
Well,
didn't where
they do
they
use
and
they
where
do
they
use
were
the
pardoned?
guy. They do use the guy they shot at the baseball game. Remember that years ago, the congressional baseball, and Steve
Gabby,
Scalise got shot.
yeah, Gabby Gifford. Who was?
No, 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 no. It was in D.C.
Mhm.
in blood-ridden
I
D.C.
remember. I do remember. I
And
just
he
can't
was a
remember.
Bernie supporter, I guess. Supposedly, I mean, there was no like real tangential proof that he was a Bernie supporter, but he came there with a rifle, and Steve Scalise got shot. And they're like, "Well, look at this left-wing violence against Republicans," and this was so long ago, and they still use this to equate that singular guy who there's some loose. He might have like a Bernie poster in his car with that whole list I just gave you. They said that makes it equal.
Yeah. Mass shooter, even Black Lives Matter protests. Okay, some shit got burned down, but like, do you remember them watching toward the street asking for the blood of white folks or saying we will not be replaced? Like, I mean, these are hateful, violent people, and you're not gonna like, hoodwink me into thinking like both sides. Like, I don't know, and then people be like both sides, and it's crazy.
As if it's like a difference of opinion. And I think that's the problem that
Mhm.
white liberals have really leaned on. It was that they've sadly they've looked at racism all this time. It's just difference of opinion. It's just, we can agree like they have different viewpoints. And in reality, it's violence.
Yeah,
It's people that uphold a system. It's people that vote for people that will take a pen and strip away the human rights of many of
and
us.
there's a lot of people that want Democrats to grovel and to beg for
Yes.
these people. And I
Mhm.
saw an article about Republicans who they voted for Trump and they're disillusioned, and but they're not getting the Democrats now. They're not still not turning to Democrats,
Right.
and
It's just like fuck
I'm like,
y'all.
all
Like,
right, well,
okay.
and to be honest, like I'm not gonna say like if Democrat, like, honestly, let the whole thing burn down at this point, right? I'm not gonna sit here and try to, and we look at Palestine and people talk about, oh well, look at what's happening now. It's like, oh, do you want your coffee black or do you want your coffee with sugar? Do you want your genocide straight, or do you want your genocide with sugar and cream, right?
That's
Do you
right.
want it to last over? Do you want it to be quick and painless, or do you want it to be
Painful. Yeah.
long and pain? Like, to me, it's like the same at this point. Like, honestly, I don't even know what the difference would be, right? Like,
Because they're aligned in the most immoral things, and that's the problem. And so it's like, yes, domestically there may be a few different things. The problem is, even in modern age, not enough, because you have the Republicans saying we want to strip down everything that FDR did in the New Deal, right? HTW with healthcare, education, and welfare, take away Social Security, take away Medicaid. All these programs were created by the Democrats, right? The things that keep people alive, the things that keep people out of abject poverty after the Great Depression. The Republican, or at the time the more conservative party, whatever you want to call it, was hell bent on stripping that shit. So you have that, and then you have the other side that honestly isn't trying to ultimately help people who are at the bottom. And this myth of a middle class was always created to have people at each other's ends who are in the middle and the bottom. And there's this quote that I remember. It stuck with me. He said that one of the best magic tricks the Republican Party ever played was convincing the working class, or excuse me, the middle class, that they are the working wealthy, and that the impoverished class is that they are the middle class.
yeah, and yeah, I know quite a few people, middle class folks who think that they're above the fray or it's not going to affect
Hmm.
them, and they don't
But
just kind of
but we have to understand we're all working class. We're all working
right.
class. If you have to work to live, you are working class. You are not a part of the, because there's two classes. There's the exploiter class, then there is the working class. That is it. There is no such thing as a middle class. That is an invention to keep us fighting each other versus the exploiter class. And now it's time for people to kind of wake up to that. Because if you are contingent, I mean, because again, if you, well, I'm a capitalist, folks, I'm a capitalist. Okay, show me the deed to your factory. Show me the mines where you get raw materials. That's what owning capital is. That's owning resources. Not I'm an executive. That is within the we're so fucking deluded.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
at any point, um, I would say a good example is these farmers can be squeezed right out, right? These tariffs will put you out of business, and then they just put you in a position where you can no longer afford to operate, and you have no choice but to sell for pennies on the dollar, right? And even in technology, or where we're at right now with AI, if you're building a product like I am, you're at the mercy of the Microsofts, the Nvidias, the Open AIs, the either Palantirs, the Googles. Even if you are Don Lemon and Joy Ann Reid, right? And you're at the mercy of Invitus, you're at the mercy of YouTube. At any given
That's
moment,
right.
Donald Trump can say, hey, forget his name, but you're like, shut it down, right? Or I'm
Well,
taking away.
I heard they're gonna start rolling out in a couple of weeks at a small. I don't know if you've heard this. You're in the tech world. but on a small scale, they're going to start rolling out ID verification for people to even be on. Like you have to
The
upload
internet, yeah.
pictures, and I mean that is so fucking. I know to get on like Google, I mean to get on YouTube, which is owned by Google. So like this idea that like the surveillance state's already here,
Yeah.
and eventually be for all of us to even get on YouTube. And it's always to protect some vulnerable, to protect the children. But in reality, these are places that still have algorithms that still show self-immolation and violence and things to children on kids' YouTubes, right? So like we have to, and this is a way to shut us down virtually before we even have to get into streets to organize against them physically. And if they could shut down your voice, if they could shut down your organizing channels like a YouTube channel, like how we're doing here, or Joy Reid or Don Lemon, then they can put the, in their minds, put the fire out. But any place there is oppression, you will always have resistance. And they do, and I think they fail to understand that. And this is why I think one of the biggest failures of American history was teaching us that only one black man ever revolted against slavery, which is Nat Turner. And I don't say this to glorify violence in my next sentence, but black folks were killing white people. People need to understand that. Like, because if you enslave me and you're taking my wife and beating me I will kill you. And sadly, when we were sold the story that only one man and a few other a loose gaggle of other slaves, enslaved people, killed people, not went on a rampage. That is not true. There was over 250 armed enslaved rebellions. Now, why didn't we learn that? If we learned that, we like, we push back against these systems. We push back against racism. We push back against oppression. We always have. And that's when they sold us this Santa Clausification of Martin Luther King. And it just turned the other cheek, and Mahatma Gandhi and all these kind of pacifists, and said that's the only way to do it that's acceptable to the empire. But now people are realizing, like, you know what? We have been sold a bum deal. But so we're gonna keep our eye on this. DC is, I think, folks. I've seen some folks shouting down a checkpoint. They have checkpoints. This is the West Bank. What did we say? The imperial boomerang, right? What you allow your government to do to someone else, they will eventually do to you. So the West Bank has over 385 checkpoints. DC has checkpoints now. Folks are just coming home from an event. They're like, what the hell? What, they got a military, got guns. Let me see your ID. What is this? And they shouted them down. They shut down that checkpoint. Now I don't know how many they have so far, but that is the type of resistance we need.
Yeah, we're again, reminder, we're about 7 months in, right? So we've like, it's a long way to go, right? And people think it's going to be solved, like it's going to be solved by an election. It's not. 2026 is going to be probably one of the most fucked up, if it even is like an actual election that resembles what we're used to. Then you got you have another 3.5 years of this escalated, and people keep saying, like, and so when people say, like, oh, you're talking about like a civil war, like, oh, you guys are um being dramatic, or fear mongering, and it's like, no, we're not. Like, we told you literally on like the 20th, and probably even before then, of where we would be at, like,
November 6th. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah, November 6th, right? And so,
okay,
we can go back, like, look, it's even the things that Elon did, and things that
right. I ain't forgot. Every time I see a Tesla, I'm like, man, fuck you.
Yeah, but
every time I'm good.
And I think one of the things that people aren't talking about enough, and we've lost focus on, this climate change, right? Like, we can someone's quote unquote,
that's right,
quote unquote, like, adapt to whatever's happening, in terms of the system, and violence and things like that. But we can't really. It's to a point. Like, we'll get to a point, and probably not in our lifetimes, right? But whether it's our children or grandchildren's lifetime, very likely that they're not actually going to be able to sustain life. Like, those are just one of those things you can't avoid. I guess unless Elon Musk figures out how to get Teslas to Mars, right? So, anyways,
well, I mean, this is a good segue into
Which one?
The folks in Texas, right? You know, the folks in Texas, you know, they're fleeing this gerrymander. I don't know if you guys heard, but Donald Trump's ordered up Texas just to serve them up 5 new seats. Just give me 5 new seats. Just get them to me, folks. And they had these BS kind of performative meetings in the state house, and people were driving from all over the state in Texas to say how this is bullshit and how they do not stand for this. This is anti-democratic, and how weak they are to capitulate to Donald Trump, and this is not democracy. And it was some fantastically moving speeches from people in the crowd. And they're going to go ahead with this. They're going to go ahead and do this. Now I'm hearing that if they go ahead and do this, if it gets through, that it wouldn't be for 2026. It wouldn't go into effect for another term after that, but I ain't putting shit past Republicans.
Yeah,
and right. I don't trust that shit. But so Democrats have fled the state. They have fled the state, and they're trying to compare, like, oh, it's the same thing as Ted Cruz. Like, they're fleeing to protect the most vulnerable. Ted Cruz fled because he's a piece of shit. Those are 2 different things. But the news of this week, I think as of today, I think a few Democrats are headed back to Texas, and I'm not going to sit here and, you know,
I think it's inevitable, right? They're going to pass. Like,
yeah,
it might be delayed, and glad to they're putting up a fight. I mean, I think like that they're actually putting up a fight and not just saying, "Well, throw up their hands and
I think they made
like resistance." But I think the special session ends tomorrow, so they might have successfully gotten through this first like bout, if you will. But ultimately, I don't really foresee it being something that does not.
But I think they did something important, which was make a spectacle out of it, right? We always ask for Democrats to do something to, like, make something shock, not sit on the steps of the Capitol like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, but like these Democrats fled all across the country to different cities, hiding away. But then as I'm hearing this, I'm like, what does that say about our society? What does that say about our government, where people are fleeing their? I mean, think about it. I know we're looking at for the performative nature of it, but like, just take a moment and think about, is this a functioning country where you have to flee under threat of FBI arrest?
Well,
Now, no judge assigned that, but it's just them saying this. This is them trying to use their maximalist power of the state. What does that say? I just want us to really sit with that. Not the performative nature of it, but just, we are at a very unhealthy time. This thing may have already be dead.
Yeah, I arrived.
That's
I really think I arrived in Chicago around the same time they got there, maybe the day after, and I remember thinking like somebody's gonna, like, I remember thinking like, damn, they might like bomb these people in the hotel, because I think, I don't know if I knew the hotel until after. Then sure enough, some hours later there was a bomb threat and they had to clear them out. I'm familiar with the hotels, so I went to high school in the area, and I'm thinking like, I mean, like, what if they were? I mean, they're actually literally facing, bomb threats for, taking a stance, right? And so, yeah.
But what does that mean, man? Like, what does that mean that we have to have people flee their states? I mean, I just really want us to sit with that. Like, I think people are like, yeah, like, this is Dems, which it is, right? I'm glad that, like, this.
To be fair, and people, women, have been fleeing their states since the overturning of Roe v. Wade too, right? Because to get the health care they need, to be able to get abortion, to be able to get, so it didn't start.
But those
here,
are but those are disempowered. Well, yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
But those are disempowered people.
Yeah, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, with these people, there's people having to flee states. Like, this is where we're at. Like, people literally have to flee states for. I understand what you're saying, like the different reasons, but yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, so imagine now, like, what does that tell you? What does that tell other women who are disempowered and fleeing Texas to get abortions or the health care they need? That now the people that would be the ones to protect you or should fight for those, they too are like, what? Like, we are a sick society, and I think we're not really holding on to that. I think we're trying to hold on to the bits and pieces and kind of a la carte it and say, well, this has happened here, and this happened back in the day, but like,
well, and
we are not.
When with people, that's the start of it, right? And what we talk about is fleeing to a state that will allow you to, in this case, get an abortion, or flee to a state where your government and your colleagues aren't going to lock you up or pass laws. And so people are traveling literally from red states to blue states, right? And that to me sounds a lot like what leads up to secessions, what leads up to civil wars. And this is what we're talking about. If people are fleeing states for whatever reason, and now we have gay marriage coming up, gay rights. I mean, you might have to flee your state to remain married, to get married, and even worse, to stay alive. Like, that's where we're headed, and I don't think people understand. And it's amazing to me that people aren't. It's not clicking.
Right.
It's a hope.
Yeah.
There's too much hope. People are holding on to hope. Hope is not a strategy, right?
I saw this
Hope
video
will
on
get you killed.
Instagram of this lady. She's a black, I guess, I don't know, she's something in the law, because her name was like the legal something. And I'm gonna send it to you afterwards, but like the video is basically her saying like at the top it's like defeatists who are like fascism is here and blah blah, the stuff that we say on our show. And this is, you know, black woman, and her, I looked at her page, she doesn't seem to be like a Candace Owens. But then like, and then it's one of those ones where it's like, have you seen that video? Like, do you have any kids? Yes, I have one daughter. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh man, 'cause this guy, he just reads like bad like Tinder back and forth, and anyway, but it's been used to go viral for other videos. So it's a common audio track people use to play it. And in her video, she's basically like, but the court's holding. You know, he's losing in court. It's like, but what you're missing, people are being disappeared off the streets. People are being sent to countries they've never been to. So you're talking about some court battle that he's losing 90%. People are being killed, like those two state people we were talking about out of Minnesota. Like, leaning on a system, leaning on the rules or the judiciary, a system built on white supremacy to stop a white supremacist, is a fool's errand in Project 2025. And I think, and so I comment on that, basically saying that like, this is very naive. This is a very naive take. And like, I get it. And your bona fides as some sort of legal expert. That's just knowing the rules of the master. But those rules were never for him. Those rules were always for us. And I think people need to wake up to that. And all the comments were eating her alive too. And it was respectful. People weren't like, you're crazy. But it was like, you're just very naive. This is a very naive take. It's a very naive take. But yeah, I hope the Democrats keep it up. Gavin Newsom has talked about, gerrymander. He had a press conference today. And what did Trump do? He sent the National Guard there, and ICE, or no, it was Border Patrol agents there. This, and as Gavin Newsom said on stage, this is what weak people do. And folks, I've been saying it on every single episode of If I Can. We are witnessing a collapsing identity, but it'll die just like a dying star. What does it do? A dying star, it gets super hot, it gets super bright, right? It gets very loud, and then it implodes on itself and creates a black hole. That's what we're seeing with white supremacy. That's what we're seeing with the white man's party, the Republican Party, which is damn near 90% white, overwhelmingly male. This is a party of people trying to hold on to an identity that is built on their own comfort, built on their own privilege, and they do not want to let go of that. And they will kill themselves before they let any of us become equals.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, if we'll get out of this in their lifetime. They were older, and I said, maybe probably not your lifetime. I think optimistically, like, it's going to be 10 or 20 years. Also, like, Pandora's box has been opened. Like, yeah, like the government may change, but these people are bloodthirsty. They're out for, they've been given the green light on their bigotry, on their racism. And so these people will continue to exist. But I know it sounds, when people talk about Handmaid's Tale, like, you might need to start thinking in context of like what America will look like in the next 10 or 20 years, of it potentially looking like Handmaid's Tale. And there's resistance of the people is not enough right now, so I don't really have a lot of confidence in that, to be honest. I think there's things we can get away, but I think
it's too performative.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately, like, what we can't really foresee is their own missteps of this Trump Vance Vance. I think they might, get in their own way. I mean, if we're already incompetent, right, and pulling off DEA and FBI off of actual crime, whether it's terrorism, trafficking, whatever, all those things are gonna something. It's gonna culminate the economy, all of these things. So the downfall might be their own doing. But that's a little bit hard to foresee what that looks like. Even them potentially, Vance replacing Trump and all those things.
Hey man, I hate to say it because I live here. My friends are here, my family's here, my babies are here, my wife is here. America deserves whatever it's gonna get. Like the idea that it has the moral or the historical foundations to not deserve to crumble is ludicrous. It is stolen land built by stolen people, and it is built on a system that keeps those people genocided and second class citizens to this day. So the idea that it's God ordained. This is why these white Christian nationalists from the pulpit are like, God's blessing America. How could He ever bless anything that was stolen?
I mean, America, the flag's in the Bible. America's in the Bible. I mean, God ordained America is the greatest country on earth, right? Like,
because you're right. Because God believes in nation
but
states.
you do have to start to think about, like, and people, I don't know, unless you remain ignorant, which a lot of people are, right? They choose to remain ignorant. But when was America the good guy? Because the only nuclear bombs was dropped by America. I mean, and you look at the history. I mean, when was America the good guy, right? Even after 9/11, we didn't go after the perpetrators. We went after another country, false pretenses, and killed 1 million people, right? In we're funding Israel to continue to kill Palestinian women, children, press.
And shout out to, just real quick. I just want to give a quick shout out to Anas Al Sharif, who was just killed this week, and I put up his last statement that he put out in May, but he did tweet at around 3:50 our time PM that, like, I believe the Israeli planes are coming to kill me right now, and he was dead within 20 minutes.
That's what bravery looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like to
That's right.
put your life
That's
on
right.
to put your life
That's
on the
right.
line and to report it so that we can see what's happening, and for us to sit here and see it, and not only have it see it on TV, we're see it on
Robert
Instagram
Burns.
feeds. We put it there.
Robert Burns is tough. He's a tough guy.
When Robert Burns is a fucking pussy.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, well,
JD Vance. These are the guys those guys with the things in their face for ICE. Those are the tough guys. Those are tough men who are roughing up grandmothers and going to, Home Depots and going to schools and lying to people because it's actually a part of their policy. It's called the ruse. That's in their handbook, to lie to people. These are the real tough guys because they got the American flag on, they got the green on, they got the
mask. Hey, they went maskless, man. Wow, brave. They they went maskless with COVID. Oh, but wait, hold on. Like, don't let them join ICE. All of a sudden they're gonna fucking throw a mask on. And then they're tough. Then they're tough when they're dressed up like G.I. Joe with a mask on, because
the fucking gravy seals. Yeah, get the hell out of here because they're all out of shape and they're all wilding. So, like, it just, again, you're right, man. That's a good point. That's what bravery looks like. Miss Rachel has bigger testicles than Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and any of these crazy roided out alpha, skin like leather alpha bros that are just genocidal. And again, what did I say about these fake patriots? Why don't y'all show up at Camp Mystic to go save those little girls? But no, you could show up on a Saturday with your fucking mask on in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and say Jews will not replace us. These are the people that call themselves patriots. They're fake patriots, and I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm tired of people who are ostensibly on my side telling me that if I don't side with them or get to know them or meet them in the middle, there's something wrong with me. No, there's something wrong with you. And I need people to have some backbone and to jettison their cowardice in this moment and say, like, you know what? I need to make a stand. I need to make a stand because if it's hard, if you think it's hard now, just how hard do you think it'll be in 3.5 years, as Rom keeps reminding us.
Yeah. It's not gonna get. It's not. So, anyways.
So, but just I do want to end on a lighter note. I do want to end on a lighter note, folks. So yesterday, health enthusiast and raw milk aficionado, Jillian Michaels was on cable news network CNN, and she made some comments about, why are these people still going on about slavery?
Oh man, yeah, I haven't started it. I had to take a minute to prepare. Just listening to
yes,
lab, but here we go.
And ain't nothing better than being strong and wrong, boy.
Where's the sound? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that we should talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
He's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look at
slavery,
let's talk about the fact.
Slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and who was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is
that in the context of American history. Okay. In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by saying that it was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad.
You have a lot of stuff in front of
you. Yeah, I
What
do, because
exactly
I don't, because here's the thing.
Are you talking about?
Okay, it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't
and
think
it's totally partisan.
We don't, first of all, we don't have time to litigate
all
of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument.
So I thought this was interesting because, we've heard these arguments in certain circles throughout our whole life, especially from folks who are, I'm not really super conservative. I'm not a really Republican, but I also have this kind of racist streak in me, or I might be conservative. And let me tell you why I'm a racist, right? So and I jotted some notes down earlier about this because I was just floored by this, but this whole 2% thing, right? We've heard that, less than 2% of white people owned enslaved people. Only less than 2%.
Wrong. But
right.
Second off, that doesn't change the fact that it existed, and so
exactly.
Have you growing up about slavery? When you learned about slavery, did you walk out of the school and just look at every white person like, damn,
so you're a slaver?
Like, I don't like you. I don't like white people. No. They have to revise history because to know your history is to know the history. So to know the history of the country, to understand, like, to put things into perspective, is a threat to what they're trying to do. I mean, that's why countries, countries like Germany, they don't allow you to have a Nazi flag. They don't allow you to do a salute.
Rightfully so.
So, but here. And this is what I was thinking, like, you better get some. It's better. I know you got mad books, but like, people better start figuring out what books to hold on to and maintain, because access to the internet can be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm sure there's a lot of archives and things that are not government owned, but the access to those things can be restricted.
Or changed or altered.
We've been talking about the altering the Smithsonian and making Americans just
approved history. That's not how history works.
This happy-go-lucky place. Because like I said, I grew up like America had a smeared past, and my perception of America for many years, probably up until my worldview changed when Trayvon Martin came.
That's all right. That's all right.
But I said, look, we're moving to the right direction. Like, hey, the country did some terrible things in the past, but by golly, like, we seem to be doing the right shit, moving on the right tracks. A few road bumps on the way.
That's why this clip. I just wanted to, like, because I was like, it was funny to me, but I'm like, also, so I did a little research, because a lot of people have said this whole 2% thing, right? I was like, to your point, Rom, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because the majority of white Americans in the South derived their wealth from slavery, according to Bloomberg. This is from Bloomberg, the left wing, right? Bloomberg, okay, owned by the billionaire. The value of slavery was worth more than the banks, railroads, and factories combined in the North. That was the value of slavery. It was an economic bonanza for the South, right? If you think about it, it was crazy. So even if that number was 2%, which is bullshit, it was the infrastructure of exploitation and white supremacy on the backs of black people, if you think about it, right? And then according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, just to go back to the 2% number, in 1860, so 5 years before the end of the Civil War hadn't even started yet. It didn't start until April 1861. In 1860, 27%, so not 2%, but 27% of Southern households, so not big plantations, households, owned people, owned Africans and African descendants, 27%. And when you break it down by each state, it was nearly half. Mississippi had 49% of white households owning black people. And about half of all Southern wealth starts at enslaving black people. So by the time you get to the end of the Civil War, Rom, you have about 6 million black people who were still enslaved. And that was a gross undercount. So and then the classic neo-Nazi line, slavery was everywhere. Slavery was everywhere, and, but not chattel slavery. Y'all need to look up what chattel slavery is. Chattel slavery is based off your race, right? So they had to invent a race, and then they had to they remixed it. Yes, slavery exists in Africa. Oh, do you know the African sold why they sold them to the white man? That means they had to have the foreknowledge of the Middle Passage. They had to have the foreknowledge of chattel slavery, where just by the color of their skin and it'll be passed down through blood, and their children will be enslaved forever in perpetuity. They didn't, because in African slavery, it was usually through war or trade or something like that. And guess what? If you were enslaved, you become a chieftain. You become a leader of that community, of that nation. And it was temporary, and it wasn't endemic to who you are, and it wouldn't be, your child wouldn't be a slave. So these people who use these neo-Nazi lies to say that, well, everything was slavery and 2%, they're trying to minimalize it because they want to bring it back. And then, and I'm sure you saw the news about the PragerU with Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, I got that right here. I was going to show that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which I've seen. Like, it wasn't like I.
Yeah, me too.
It's like
But
I know it's
still.
catch it.
It's getting rehashed.
Again, but
It's all in the same time.
Yeah.
This time, and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal? Slavery is
I'll tell you. No.
Pearl Mania. That guy.
Put me in. Try to enslave me. I'm
killing you. No question.
I'm dying, and I'm taking people with me. I'm leaving here with something. I'm
leaving people with something. I mean, you heard Kelly Carter Jackson. I mean, how we resisted. I mean, we would sometimes. I mean, we would kill ourselves. We jumped over the ship. I would rather be at the bottom of the ocean rather than be in your field, right? I mean, there was infanticide. Mary Johnson, right? These are the things that have happened. But if you listen to that bullshit PragerU clip, Pearl Mania had a really good analysis of this, where he said, if you listen to that line, it's better to be enslaved than to be killed. He said that's really giving you two options. That's giving you two options in the way they view it, and they're really trying to tell you the precursor to your children. You could either be a slave working for this oligarch, Elon Musk and his company town in Texas, or working for King Zuckerberg on the West Coast, or that fiefdoms. So they're trying to prime the brains of Americans starting from a young age.
Yeah, children.
Right. The Hitler youth of the next generation. You can either be a slave or you can be killed.
Yeah,
and that's the reality that's always been applied to us.
And that's why I said, like, you need to be prepared to. Well, one, you should be teaching your children a lot of things, right? But
accurate
not
history.
rely. Yeah, exactly. Like, not rely on schools. Even us growing up, I don't know about you, but we were getting the sugar coated version, not necessarily like the whitewash version, but like. The light, like it was,
but sugar-coated, it was whitewashed.
But to say that, like, to call it other than slavery, or to say, like, to put in propaganda, like, it's not that bad, right? Like, I mean, would you rather live or would you rather be in slavery? It's not that.
It's
bad,
like, I would rather you not.
Like, if you show my kid this shit, it's gonna be. If you show my daughter this shit, it's gonna be a problem. But besides that, like, we do need to start thinking about the access to libraries, access to the internet, access to these things might not readily be available.
We have to be the nexus of information for our next generation, because I always try to remind people of like the downward spiral. I remember when affirmative action got taken away, and that's when I was still the chair, and I was talking to one of my co-chairs, and white women, and they're very unaware of these things. I said, well what's going to happen is eventually is these colleges or these companies that are, they've got rid of not DEI at the time, there's still affirmative action. That was the Supreme Court had just ruled. I said they're going to have to prove the next year or the next year after that these numbers have declined to prove that they stopped that. Like they're going to have to prove that that we are going to personally injure these groups at our colleges or our organizations. That look, we got rid of it, and look, now there's less black. Yes, Harvard has 1.9% black people. Now it's down to 0.9% black people. Look, we're doing what you want. Don't sue us. Don't do X, Y, Z. Oh, this company, we got rid of DEI. Look, we hiring less black people. That's what it's always about. It's always about black people. So I just want us to kind of be aware of that's what they're talking about. And then but the downward trickle of this for this PragerU in Florida, because it's already in Florida schools, is that if your child says that Christopher Columbus was he did genocide, he was an enslaver, he was a rapist, they will now say that's wrong because that was not in the curriculum. And they have another one with Frederick Douglass, who says a bunch of wrong shit about the Compromise of 1877 and all this shit. So now, if your child talks to you or he reads a book, we got the narrative of Frederick Douglass. He reads Frederick Douglass's own words, who said, "I have no country. Where is my country?" If you write that down, which is the truth, now you're wrong, and that starts up the psychological kind of waterfall, where it's kind of like, all right, this kid's wrong, they're getting answers wrong, they're a bad kid, they're a bad student, send them to the right. Then you see the school to prison pipeline. School is not really for you. You're getting these answers wrong. In reality, your kid is bright, your kid is putting out the correct answer, but they want to live in a lie so bad that they will demonize your child, because that's the goal. So we can't just look this shit on his face. We have to think about what is 10 steps down the line.
Yeah.
And I do want to do this last one though. The last one too. So the Newsmax. So folks, all these networks they all kind of blend together. This is from Newsmax, and folks, fun is back. So let's play this clip real quick.
Going back to the culture.
Oh, the culture, whatever that is.
Like the video we're about to show you. Over the last few weeks, students are heading back to college, particularly in the South. They start early down there. And one of the great American traditions for female college students is rushing a sorority. They don't do this in China. They don't do this in Russia. They don't do this in Namibia. They do it in America. And that should be okay. It should be okay to celebrate things that are uniquely American. But over the past several years, we haven't done that. We've been scared. Scared of the backlash, scared of who we might offend. We've been told that what you're seeing here is wrong. We were told there wasn't enough diversity in all these videos. But all that is changing. And it's changing because of what happened in November. What you're looking at are sorority sisters competing with other sororities at other schools all over the country, making these videos to try and attract new members this fall. It started at just one college. Sisters choreograph a dance, and now it's a trend that has only grown from there to dozens of colleges. You can't watch these videos without smiling and maybe wishing that you were in college, maybe wishing that this could be you again, and that should be okay. After 4 years of Joe Biden and DEI and tremendous reverse discrimination, especially against white people, especially against white men, fun is back. When people say America's healing, they're typically talking about the border being closed or inflation coming down or common sense coming back to the culture. And it's all of that. But more than anything, it's things like this. College girls being allowed to celebrate being college girls again. And America is healing by being America again, by embracing what makes us American. Maybe you've seen this photo. A sailor back from...
How are you talking about? First off, like, I think he's getting excited that pedophilia is back.
Way too excited.
It's like get a little bit like, granted they're 18, but like they look like kids. Like I don't know about you, but 18-year-old like college kids look like kids.
It's a kid to me.
Like
it's a kid to me.
Now. Every time,
I'm
go to college
20.
camp,
I'm a
so,
full.
like,
I'm a full
they're
grown
like in college.
adult. I'm a full grown adult older than 18. I'm 21 years older than an 18-year-old. That's crazy.
And he's older. But like, I've seen these videos I've always seen them. I've never
under Joe
like,
Biden.
stopped them.
It's a TikTok trend. They were doing it last year.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
We're manufactured bullshit.
But what they're trying to do and they said it. They said the quiet part out loud was the idea that like you can watch these young girls and it's okay to have a boner, and if you have a boner while watching these young girls, you're all right. You're doing the right thing. It's okay. But what they're also trying to do is get you upset. That's the whole right wing thing, is to get you horny and to get you angry. Those are the two things this is why Tucker Carlson said that he can't fuck the green M&M no more. It's because it's about being horny and being angry. And them talking about these videos kind of has this veneer of whiteness, as you see in all the videos. These white women who are doing these TikTok dances, but don't let a black woman dance. Remember when AOC was doing that dance in college, and it came up like years later that she did a dance on college, and they were like, this Jezebel whore. But like, they don't even want women in college. That's the shit that kills me. All this like, look at them, because they want them doing things as long as it serves the patriarchy. As long as these women are dancing for them, they don't have any ambition. Now, any of those women that grew up to become like a congresswoman or a senator, then they should have thought about that shit 30 years ago when they were in college. But this, as long as you can, be at the football games and dancing and singing for us, that's the shit they want. And it's disgusting. And it really shows their true motivations, that they're just disgusting, perverted, Fox News grandpa brains. Old man. Infinity, the fun was back for him. I think it was back in 2009 when his murder charge got taken away because he had killed somebody in a car with vehicular manslaughter. So that's when his fun came back. So, boom.
Alrighty.
Fun is back.
Fun is back, everyone. Fun is back. It's okay to be a
white man.
Weird incel. Yeah, it's okay to be a weird incel, a white man. Like it's okay to Google and
easy.
Easy. So, anyways, yeah, I think that's the good return. We've it's been a couple of weeks, and
it has, man.
A lot's happened.
That no more.
A lot's happened, and a lot will continue to happen, unfortunately.
Yes, RC and Absentia, and we're gonna try to do some more cool stuff with the show. We're still trying to grow. So again, folks, if you are listening to this, please like, share, subscribe. Please make sure you're telling your friends about it. And if you have any topics that you think we need to cover, let us know. I know I've been wanting to do a mailbag episode where we kind of take questions previously sent in from folks, but we'll do that one of these days. Yeah, so any ideas or things you could do, you guys want us to do, or things we could do to make the show better, please let us know, because we are interested in making this grow for YOU. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where this thing goes. So folks, thanks again for tuning into the Radical Roots podcast, where we dig deep to reach high. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter.
I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval.
And we will see you next time.